Guardian, you've got to go to Target to get some cookies and cream Pop-Tarts and a can of Red Bull. Got it. We're on it.
Oh my goodness.
What's up, everybody? It's me, your favorite little boy in the whole wide world, Ren with 2 N's. And boy, let me tell ya, I loved Destiny 1. I am what some people would call a Destiny fanboy. I played it for hours on end, and I don't regret a single second of it. In my love letter to Destiny video, I embarrassingly admitted that Destiny 1 was my video game wife. Now, naturally, my real-life girlfriend wasn't too happy about me saying that, so baby, sweet, sweet Kimberly, I got good news and bad news for you. Destiny 1, my video game wife, died on September 6th, 2017. It died during childbirth as it pumped out Destiny 2. And straight out of the womb, Destiny 2 is almost as sexy and desirable as her mother. So the reason this review is a little bit later than everybody else's is because I wanted to make sure that I did absolutely everything in this game. You know, like the Nightfall, the Raid, Trials of the Nine, so that I could properly review this. Because as we all know, the endgame content is where Destiny really shines. At the very least, it's what keeps you coming back to the game week after week, so that you can maximize your power level and acquire all the best weapons and gear. So unlike some other very dirty and unprofessional YouTubers, I waited patiently, like a good boy, to make a review of this game. So let's get it started. Here's my review of D2 for you. Boo-boo. As we all know, the story for Destiny 1 was indefensible garbage, but Destiny 2 came out swinging right out of the gate. The story in Destiny 2 is a massive step forward. That first mission is awesome, and the section after that where your Guardian is walking around the woods for an entire week was amazing and kinda sad. It genuinely gave me the motivation to want to kill Ghaul, on top of the fact that he gave me Ghaul stones earlier this year. So for me it was personal. And when I got to the farm, which just had wonderful music and fantastic atmosphere, a little tear swelled up in my eye. And I thought to myself, this is it. This is the game I've been waiting for 3 years. This is the game they promised us Destiny 1 would be. And that feeling stuck with me throughout the entire main story of the game. As I stopped and stared at all the scenery, I was in awe. I mean, Bungie has always made some of the best skyboxes, and I think that this may be some of their best work. It's very rare that I actually stop playing a video game to take a moment and properly admire the environment. The game is just beautiful. It's prettier than my dead sister, and that bitch was a knockout. And the sound design is damn near perfect. The guns are bassy and they have an impactful thump. With a lot of variety in sound, you can tell an Omelon weapon from a Hake weapon with your eyes closed. And just like in Destiny 1, most exotic weapons have their own unique sound effects too, which is great for the Crucible, because once you memorize all the gun sounds, you can tell who is shooting at you with what. And the sounds the Cabal make when you punch them is just one of the most satisfying sound effects ever. And while we're talking about the audio, man, the soundtrack for Destiny 2 is quite possibly one of my all-time favorite video game soundtracks. Almost every song carries emotional weight, and it fits the moment perfectly. And the music was so intense for me in Trials of the Nine that I actually had to turn the music off because it was just causing me to panic. It was causing my hands to shake like Michael J. Fox, you know? And I was just making poor decisions. And I'll be honest, I was kinda worried about how the soundtrack for this game would turn out, because this is Bungie's first game in like 15 years that Marty O'Donnell didn't do the music on. But Michael Salvatore nailed it. The music in Destiny 2 is better than the music in Destiny 1.
Yeah, I write the good ones. Oh. He writes the kind of like throwaway ones.
Yeah.
Almost everything has been improved from Destiny 1. The game itself just feels more fun. They were able to make the already great shooting mechanics feel even better than it did in the first game, which is saying a lot because this game is stuck at 30 frames per second and it still just feels amazing. And I love how when you pick up an engram now, it doesn't go to your weapon slot or your armor slot. Instead, there's a dedicated place for engrams to go. The vault has 200 spaces, you can hold up to 100,000 glimmer, and you can launch to an event from literally anywhere in the game. You hardly even have to go to orbit anymore. The new power is huge and awesome, and the main campaign is sprinkled with awesome and memorable moments. But it's not all cherry tops, gumdrops, and lollipops, because Destiny 2 took a lot of steps backwards from Destiny 1, and I mean a lot of steps backwards. It's very clear that Bungie or Activision have attempted to simplify this game in order to appeal to as many people as possible, and that's almost never a good thing. Now, I'm sure some of you are probably going to scoff when I say this, but I always felt that Destiny 1 had some of the most depth a console first-person shooter could offer. The Hunter, Titan, and Warlock all played vastly differently from one another, and each of the 9 subclasses also offered a huge shift in playstyles. Each and every subclass in the game had a ton of different nodes to choose from. I mean, you look at this screen, there are literally hundreds of different combinations you can toy with to fit your playstyle, or even create a brand new playstyle to mess around with. On my Arcblade subclass, I used to love the perk that turns me invisible when I pop my super, so I could sneak up on people and get some dirty breakers. And that's just a minute detail. You could also spec your Night Stalker so that heavy weapon kills have a chance to generate orbs for your team. And when you pair that with a certain piece of exotic armor, as well as the Boltcaster exotic sword, you become an orb generating machine. And all the little kids in your raid group will think you're a god. But like I said, literally every subclass had hundreds of perk combinations to choose from to personalize your play experience. Even more than that when you add exotics into the mix. And then, in Destiny 2, each and every subclass literally only has 2 options. You can either pick top or bottom, and that's it. It's bunk bed rules. I mean, when I saw this in the beta, I assumed that you could mix and match between the 2 rows. Like maybe you could cherry pick 3 from the top row and 1 from the bottom or something like that. But nope, all you get is 2 options. Cause little Timmy was having too much trouble picking his options. Little Timmy was overwhelmed. And that's a real shame, because by taking away all these options, all these playstyles, all these perks, we've lost a lot of what made Destiny 1 so replayable. That's partially what kept me coming back to Destiny 1, because you know, I had gotten really good at everything in the Warlock class, and I was kind of starting to get sick of it, so I switched over to my Striker Titan, put Shoulder Charge on, and slid into a pair of nice Peregrine Greaves, because they allowed my Shoulder Charge to do 6 times extra damage, which meant that I could kill people in roaming supers with a single Shoulder Charge, as well as Defender Titans who thought they were safe and secure inside their warm little bubbles, and they never expected it. And being able to kill them in those situations where they thought they were just so safe, and they thought they had me and they thought I was being an idiot, but it turns out I had control the entire time, you know, it gave the game new life for me. It felt like I was playing it again for the first time. And there are various builds you can work with in Destiny 2, but there aren't nearly as many. Destiny 2 also neutered exotic weapons. Or again, in Destiny 1, you could mix and match a certain gun to better fit your playstyle. You could spec your bad juju to prioritize stability or range. You could spec your last word to go for impact or stability. You could spec the Kvostov to do all kinds of crazy stupid stuff if you wanted to. But in Destiny 2, every single exotic you get has a set list of perks that you cannot change. So if you don't like a certain gun, that's too bad. It's stuck like that. Legendary weapons are also a step down from what they were in Destiny 1. You can only pick between 2 perks and 3 scopes, or barrels. Whereas in Destiny 1, you could pick between 4 perks and 3 scopes on top of the 2 set perks that each gun already had on it. And you could do really fun stuff with those perks when you coupled them with various exotic armor pieces. Like you could have your Mida multi-tool, which boosts your movement speed, and then you pair those with the Radiant Dance Machines, which increased your strafing speed while you aim down sights. And those 2 exotic perks stacked up on top of each other. So what that did was turn you into an outstrafing machine. Or one of my personal favorite weapon perks in Destiny 1 was Take a Knee. While you were crouched, Take a Knee would increase that weapon's stability by 100%, give it more range, and add a 200% resistance to flinch. And I would pair that with the Transversive Steps, a pair of exotic boots that make you move faster while crouched. So not only was I a smaller target to my opponents, but I could strafe just as fast as somebody who was stood up could. All the while, my gun is twice as good as theirs because I have Take a Knee active. There were endless combinations like those in Destiny 1. And, you know, There are a couple here in Destiny 2, but it's not even close. And it's really disappointing to go from Destiny 1's endless combinations down into a sequel where builds like I've been talking about are just so few and far between. And most of the exotic guns in Destiny 2 are just lackluster. A lot of them don't have that exotic feel, or they're just weird niche weapons. Like the tractor cannon, I mean it's cool and all, but I don't ever see myself using that weapon anywhere outside of a patrol mission. Or the fighting lion, which is this game's equivalent of the No Land Beyond. In other words, the fighting lion is a joke weapon. And then there's the Sturm. I spent a couple of hours doing a bunch of dumb crap through the exotic quest to earn this gun. And all it is a regular old hand cannon. There's not really anything special about it. It's just an average gun. Same with the Rat King. I went through a bunch of bullshit to get this thing, and it's average at best. I mean, sure, there's a few maps where it is somewhat viable in the Crucible. You can make some really neat plays with it every now and then, but I'd still much rather use my Nightshade Prosecutor combo instead. And yeah, Destiny 1 had some tedious exotic quests too, but almost all the guns you got out of it were worth it. The Sleeper Simulant became a must-have for almost every raid. And the Void Drinker was incredible at damaging Vosik in Wrath of the Machine. The list goes on and on. And you know, I guess it's great that they brought the Mida Multi-Tool back from Destiny 1. It was one of my favorite exotics from that game, but I've been using that gun for the past 2 years. I'd really prefer to not keep using it. And unless they drastically change the way the Sturm works, I don't really ever see myself using that thing. They make you go through all that effort just to get an underwhelming gun. You'd have thought they learned their lesson from the Necrochasm. But I will say that there are a couple of good exotics. Like, of course, the Merciless is pretty cool. Great for damaging bosses. The Prospector, also really neat. Also really great for damaging bosses. I used it on Callus. And I'm a big fan of the Vigilance Wing, the 5-burst pulse rifle. It's not a great gun, but with enough practice you can really just shred people apart with it in the Crucible. And I look forward to trying to master that weapon. But even the best exotic gun in Destiny 2 is nowhere near as cool as what I consider to be a mediocre exotic gun from Destiny 1, like the Red Death. If you got a kill with that thing back in the day, it'd instantly start regenerating your health, and it kind of felt like you were cheating the game a little bit, like you're breaking the rules, you know? And it felt freaking awesome. It made you feel powerful, but not too powerful. And none of the guns in Destiny 2 live up to that feeling. Like, as cool as the Vigilance Wing is, it has some drawbacks. It's really, really tough. If somebody's good at strafing, it's kind of tough to keep a bead on them for the entire burst. A 5-burst pulse is quite the commitment. And when I take a look at these exotic guns, none of them make me say to myself, oh my god, I need that gun. I need it right now. I can't stop playing till I get it. And I feel like Destiny 1 was full of that. It gave me this, admittedly unhealthy urge to want to just get it all. I needed everything, you know? But Destiny 2 is a very, very rewarding game. It's got a great sense of progression. No matter what you do, whether it's patrols, strikes, or Crucible matches, you're always increasing your power level, getting a little bit stronger with each activity, and that's a good thing. It really is. But if you ask me, I think this game is a little bit too rewarding. It hands out legendaries and exotics like they're nothing. In Destiny 1, you really had to earn your gear. To this day, 3 years later, I remember the very first legendary gun I got in Destiny 1. It was the Shadow Price. It took me like a week and a half before I finally got it, which, don't get me wrong, that's not a good thing. I mean, I had to grind my ass off to get it, but when I did get it, I was ecstatic to finally have a legendary weapon. But Destiny 2 literally just hands you legendary weapons for logging in. So for example, I played through Trials of the Nine, went flawless of course, you know me, I'm the best there is, and now everybody in my clan got an engram from Hawthorne that contained a gun from Trials of the Nine. And I consider some of those guns to be the best in the game. This is both a good thing and a bad thing. Mostly a bad thing. Because on the one hand, it makes me feel like a real strong man who provides for his family. It makes me feel like I'm a capable daddy getting goodies for his babies. But on the other hand, if I were to just log in and pick up one of the best guns in the game because one of my clanmates went flawless, I would honestly feel kind of robbed. I did nothing to earn it. I have no attachment to it. All I did was log in, and now I don't even need to play Trials because I already got the best gun from it. So why even bother? Why even bother playing at all if my clan can just do all the work for me? I don't need to do the raid, I'll just join a clan that does the raid, and I'll log in once a week and pick up my free gear. That means that eventually, some random kid can get full Trials gear and full raid gear just for signing into his account once a week. And that's just not right, mama!
Mama loves you. Mama loves you. That's not right, Mama!
Not earning your own gear takes away any sense of accomplishment, attachment, or ownership over a weapon. And to me, that was a huge part of what Destiny 1 was all about. Doing the raid every week to earn the best stuff, because maybe this week I'll get my Fatebringer. And doing trials every week to try to get to the lighthouse, because maybe this week I'll get my Adept Blind Perdition. It's what kept me and millions of other people coming back to the game week after week. And Destiny 2 has eliminated a lot of what made Destiny 1 so replayable, because it's just far too generous with its handouts. It gives you exotic engrams with little to no effort. Getting an exotic engram just takes time. Eventually, if you play enough, the game will literally just hand you every exotic in the game, which is heartbreaking because it means we'll never have that Gjallarhorn moment. So, back in the early days of Destiny 1, there was this mythical rocket launcher called the Gjallarhorn. It was hands down the best exotic in the game, but it was also one of the rarest. It was the most sought after weapon in all of Destiny. Everybody wanted it, and nobody wanted you in their raid group if you didn't have it. Now, I was lucky enough to get a Gjallarhorn about 3 or 4 months after the game launched. I got it from the Sepix Prime strike during the Nightfall, and I distinctly remember who I was with, what time of day it was, and that feeling where I literally felt like I was a little kid on Christmas morning because I had gotten exactly what I wanted. It was pure magic. And as stupid as this may sound, I honestly don't think I'll ever forget that moment for the rest of my life. But Destiny 2 won't have that moment. Not for me, and not for anybody, which is really sad because a lot of people are missing out.
Yeah, we two-manned the 34 and then we just... He fucking called it!
It took me 14 tries to get that helmet. Oh! Gjallarhorn! I just saw Gjallarhorn pop up!
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! I got fucking Gjallarhorn! I got the Gjallarhorn! Oh my god, look at my heavy weapon now! Oh my god, I got the fucking Gjallarhorn! I got a fucking Gjallarhorn! Oh my god! Oh my fucking god! Oh my god, I got Gjallarhorn! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god!
And to top it all off, and destroy the last bit of replayability the first game had, they went ahead and gave every single legendary weapon its own set of perks that are set in stone. In Destiny 1, all the legendary guns would drop with a random set of perks. So when you got a new gun, it'd either be really good or really bad. But to offset that, you could buy any of those guns with a preset perk roll on it from one of the vendors at the tower. But giving the guns random perks is also part of what kept me coming back to Destiny 1. You know, I'd log on thinking, maybe today's the day I'll get a Hawksaw with maxed out stability and rangefinder. And sure, it did suck when you got a gun to drop with garbage perks on it. But on the flip side of that, it felt amazing when you finally got that Ias Luna you'd been waiting for with Luck in the Chamber, rangefinder, and True Sight on it. You know, it took me a really long time to amass my weapon collection in Destiny 1, and after less than 2 weeks, I already have almost every single legendary Destiny 2 has to offer, and I put in almost no real effort to get these guns. Whenever a legendary dropped in Destiny 1, there was always a moment of hope. Maybe this new Matador 64 will be better than the one I already have. And sometimes it was, but sometimes it wasn't. But in Destiny 2, when I get another legendary gun that I already have, there's nothing to get excited about. I don't even need to look at the thing. I just dismantle it and move on. It's so uneventful. Now, I mentioned earlier that it took me a week and a half to get my first legendary gun in Destiny 1. Now that isn't really a good thing. That's far too long. But in Destiny 2, I got my first legendary gun the first day I played the game. I mean, I don't even remember what gun it was, and I just got it 2 weeks ago. But I can remember getting the Shadow Prize 3 years ago because that had a genuine impact on me. And that's not good. Bungie needs to find some type of middle ground to make you feel like you really earned a piece of loot. Because I honestly don't care that much about any of the guns I have in the game. None of these guns took me any effort to get. But in Destiny 1, a game that I probably won't ever play again, I can't bring myself to dismantle my original Fatebringer. But in Destiny 2, I have no problem dismantling my Last Hope. Here, look, here you go right now, I'll prove it. There it goes. Whatever, I'll get another one in 5 minutes. It doesn't matter. And they made the main campaign of this game far too easy. Like, look at this room. What's up with this room? You see there's only one spinning thingy of death? I mean, in the Destiny 2 beta, this room had 2 big spinning thingies of death. But in the final version of the game, they took one out, and it only has 1 now. Why? I never died in this room. I came close. Were people really having that much trouble with this? I mean, what? Jesus. Okay. What was once a somewhat tense little section is now just a forgettable breeze. And then there's the fight against Gaul. I mean, come on. A freaking toddler could kill this guy. You expect me to believe that this guy somehow destroyed the tower and nearly wiped out the entire galaxy? Oh, but without the Traveler's Light, by the way. And now that he has the Traveler's Light, I can kill him with one hand? I mean, come on! What were you focus grouping? A bunch of nuggets? It had to have been a bunch of nuggets. Because this fight is just so easy and anticlimactic. It makes the whole story before it just seem kind of undeserved. We really had to level up to kill this guy? Really? I spent days in the Crucible in Destiny 1, and I literally mean days. I loved it. The fast-paced gameplay, the high-octane thrills, the mind games, the outplays, the ability to single-handedly take out 6 enemies all by myself, and knowing that somebody else on the other team can do the same thing to me. It was exhilarating, and I loved it. I climbed my way to the top 1% of players in that game, and I stayed there for a couple of years. The Crucible was where I thrived, and was where I always wanted to be. Now, the Crucible in Destiny 2 is a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. I thoroughly enjoy playing it. It's tons of fun, especially with friends, of course, but it's nowhere near as fun as the first game. Gone are the days of popping your storm trance and melting the villains' faces.
Fire isn't enough? Well, let's slap some goddamn poison gas to those arrows and watch us melt the villains' faces.
You can still pull off some neat plays every now and then, but not nearly as much as you could in the first game, because teams tend to stack up on top of each other, because it's all about team shots. And you know, I've had absolutely no trouble getting myself a pretty decent KDA. And most of the time, I'm not even trying as hard as I possibly can like I would have in Destiny 1. And now I've hardly had any trouble making it close to a 3.0 KD. I've come up with 5 very simple steps to live by while in the Crucible, so I compiled them all together and had Susan from Fiverr.com read them out loud for you. Take it away, Susie!
Number 1, always stay next to your team. If you're out there all by yourself, you're doing it wrong. Number 2, make sure you're real close to cover before every engagement. That way you can escape. Number 3, if you see more than one guy on your radar, get out of there, Negro. Number 4, be a complete and total coward. Number 5, be a good boy. Don't touch your cousin. Don't steal from mama's purse, or else I'll choke your cat till its eyes pop out. Thanks for listening, everyone. My name is Susan, and my daughter's a nugget.
So yeah, I mean, I have a much easier time finding success in Destiny 2's Crucible than I did in the first one, because I can just use my team as a meat shield. And I find myself autopiloting a lot, because all I need to do is stay close to cover and stay close to teammates just like Susan told me to do. I've already put a ton of time into the Crucible, and I've found that this is the best way to win the most matches and have a high KD with little effort. And when you compare Destiny 2's Crucible to Destiny 1's Crucible, it isn't all that exciting. And by the way, where's Rumble? Where's Team Doubles? Where's my 6v6 game types with big maps and vehicles? I'm already getting sick of 4v4 only. I'm mainly a solo player. I don't want to rely on 3 other people to win a match. I want to play Rumble, I want to improve my skills, and I want to shake things up from time to time. I don't like being able to not pick Control Supremacy Clash. Let me pick my own game type. Why is there only 2? I mean, I suppose there's 3. if you count Trials of the Nine. And man, Bungie really shot themselves in the foot with this entire game type. In Destiny 1, getting 7 wins and no losses in Trials of Osiris meant that you got to go to the Lighthouse. This place offered you exclusive gear, and it was an area that only like 10% of people who actually played this game actually got to go. Getting to the Lighthouse was incredibly satisfying, especially knowing that you were one of the few people who actually made it there. And there was a cutscene that played out for you when you got there. And it almost felt like that cutscene was made exclusively for you. And then the Lighthouse also had a really big area for you to explore, filled with a couple secret areas and a lot of intrigue. In Destiny 2, instead of the Lighthouse, there's the Spire, and you can go to the Spire if you've achieved victory in one game of Trials of the Nine. So literally anybody can get to the Spire. Now, don't get me wrong, this place looks really, really cool, but it's not nearly as special as the Lighthouse. And yeah, if you get 7 wins and 0 losses in Trials of the Nine, you get to enter a cosmic tube that takes you down into a void, and you get to be in this big old space room. And I wasn't really a big fan of this room, because when I got down there, it scared the shit out of me. And what do you get for trying your ass off and going flawless in Trials of the Nine, you ask? Exclusive gear? My long-awaited approval from Daddy Shaxx? Nope. Even better. You get an emblem that tells you how many times you've gone flawless. Oh, that's it? Now how do I get out of this room? I'm stuck. This is it. This is what all my years of video game training have come to? Getting stuck in this room with a big-ass bitch and a cosmic space horse? Fuck you. Oh, but the new countdown game type in Trials was pretty neat. I like that. I think that's an improvement. It made it so that people couldn't just camp and play passively anymore and wait for the flag to spawn. Because if you planted a bomb, they had to make a move to try to disarm it. And I thought the new map was really cool too. It's a really neat, interesting looking area. Way different from anything we've seen in Destiny so far. And I really like how they gave Trials a different announcer.
No one to help you.
They gave you the emissary. She commentates all the games. And it makes Trials stand out from the regular Crucible. But Trials of Osiris was one of the things that kept Destiny alive for so long. For 2 years straight, almost every single weekend, Destiny would be in the top 15 games being viewed on Twitch. Because people wanted to see true Vanguard's sick Trials carries. People wanted to see Grenader Jake's sick 1v3s. And people also watched these streams to try to enter into the streamer's raffle in the hopes that they would win the raffle so that Mtashed or whoever they were watching would carry them to the Lighthouse. It was a big deal. When you got there, you got Adept gear. People wanted to get there so badly. People wanted in on that exclusivity. But in Destiny 2, I don't think very many people are going to care all that much about going flawless, since you really don't get anything worthwhile from it. And when I got there the other day, into that cosmic space room, it just felt so underwhelming. And I don't care if I never go again. So, I mean, you know, why bother? And then there's the raid. Spoilers, by the way. I mean, I honestly don't know what I was expecting from this raid, but I came out of it extremely disappointed because it's just more of the same. You know, you go into the room, you stand on some plates, kill some guys, move to another plate, kill some guys, move to another plate, and shoot some lanterns. Then in the next section, you gotta sneak around the Gorgons, the doggos. Then you shoot a flower when everybody's next to it, do that a couple times, then you kill all the dogs. And yeah, it's a real blast. Standing up here, holding the crystal, doing absolutely nothing. I can't wait to do this every week. Aren't stealth sections where you have to rely on 4 random people to be sneaky just the best? I think so. The next section, though, is actually pretty neat. Running the gauntlet with all 6 people is pretty cool and kind of intense, and I enjoyed this part of the raid. It was something different. It was a breath of fresh air. But then the final boss was just back to more of the same. He teleports you to another realm, like a certain other raid boss. Atheon. Then you and your team gotta go through a bunch of hoops that'll allow you to stand on a platform and do damage to the boss. And Callus is one of the easiest raid bosses in the franchise, second to Crota. The steps are very easy to complete, and he's a bit of a chump. People are already killing him in one cycle. I mean, he's easy enough that my controller actually died at the worst possible moment during the raid, and we still took him out with no issue. And this raid doesn't really have any memorable moments like King's Fall has that platforming section where you gotta jump on all the ships. That was awesome. The first time going through that, even still just going through it, it's awesome. It's really neat. And that moment when you run up and you finally see Oryx for the first time, and he's massive, he's huge, awesome. You know, I'll remember that for a long time. Or the Zamboni, the Death Zamboni from Wrath of the Machine. Awesome, that's such a fun section. Even the boss for Wrath of the Machine, he was kind of a cool looking boss, an interesting design. Callus is just a fat guy with a laser on his forehead. And I did this raid the day it came out. I went into it blind with a bunch of randoms, and it took me 13 hours to complete the raid. It sucked. You know, I didn't eat, my dog pissed on the floor, and I completely neglected my lovely girlfriend. So what amazing gear did I earn from the raid for all my hard work, you ask? Well, I'm excited to tell you that I got a chest piece and a warlock bond. Yup, that's it. Then after that, I turned in all my tokens to the vendor, only to receive the very same chest piece that I already got. Felt great. And I don't get it. Why the raid? They made this game so incredibly generous everywhere else. Why not in the raid where it actually matters, where I actually have to work for it? And then in Destiny 1, raid armor would drop with cool perks that would assist you and your team in your next attempt on the raid. Like the Wrath of the Machine gauntlets made it so that every fallen you'd kill had a higher chance of dropping more heavy ammo, and that was incredibly useful for that raid. I never had to pop a synth. And King's Fall raid had an armor piece that would give you more armor while you were taken, or more agility while you were taken. Just stuff like that. Goodies that you want to wear, that you want to put on when you're doing this raid. So what amazing perk does the raid chest piece give you from Destiny 2's Leviathan Raid? This is exciting. Let's take a look, shall we? Okay, what do we got here? Restorative Warlock Armor. Improved recovery. That's it. That's it. The same thing as every other armor piece in the whole game. Oh, baby! That was 13 hours well spent, if you ask me. Sorry, Kim. I had to go pee-pee in a Wendy's cup so that I could get this sick armor. And as if that isn't enough, even killing the boss himself is just incredibly unsatisfying and meaningless. So follow my logic here, okay? In the first raid, we had Atheon, right? He was a threat to our timeline, so we knocked him off the map and saved the day. Then there was Crota. He was kind of a threatening force. He was up to some bad juju. So we put him down like he was the neighbor's dog. Then there was Oryx. He was basically a god who was threatening our entire galaxy. This guy is a huge problem. So we were tasked with taking him out and saving the day once again. Then we had Axis. He was threatening somehow. I don't remember how. I didn't care too much about that raid. But he was no good. So we had to stop him. Now we've got Emperor Callus, a freaking emperor for the Cabal, an incredibly important figure, and he's the captain of the Leviathan, a ship that literally eats planets. I thought, okay, this is no good. We gotta board that ship, kill Callus, and destroy the Leviathan. And as it's blowing up, we're getting shot at by Cabal, and we gotta get on our Sparrow and zip out of there as everything is just exploding around you. But instead, the boss isn't even actually Callus. It's just a robot, a clone of Callus. And he brought you here as a test. And after you kill the robot, you go down into a pit where dozens more Callus robots lie dormant. It's as if the game is saying, hey idiots, come kill another one of these useless bastards next week, suckers! And when you complete the raid, the Leviathan remains untouched, unscathed, and the whole entire experience just felt so underwhelming. Even if I had gotten a bunch of gear, a bunch of the guns, I still would have felt disappointed. Now, if this is the first raid you've ever done, I think you'll have a much more positive experience than me. Since you've probably never done anything like this before, it's going to be new, it's going to be interesting, and it's going to be neat. But for me, this is my 5th raid. And I've been doing this crap for 3 years. And now that we've ditched the older generation of consoles, and Destiny 2 has a new and improved game engine, I was really expecting Bungie to step up their game. I mean, honestly, this is a raid that easily could have fit in the first game. Apart from making the environment a little bit smaller, this raid could have been in the first game. And what's the deal with Xur? Why isn't he at the tower anymore? And why is he marked on your map now? I mean, part of the fun of finding Xur was coming together as a community to discover each and every one of his hiding spots. I mean, why make the new tower so huge and filled with secret little areas if Xur isn't going to hang out in any of them? And where's the strange coins? Why are they gone? Xur just takes these legendary shards now, which isn't fine, whatever. I already have hundreds of them. It took me 0 effort to obtain these things. All I did was dismantle a bunch of garbage, and now I can buy one of the best fusion rifles in the game. Great, I really earned it. And I was always under the impression that Xur was going to use all those strange coins we gave him to either create something that would attempt to destroy us, or create something that would save us or help us defeat another villain. And I suppose that can still happen, but come on. I already have enough legendary shards to be set for life in terms of what Xur is going to bring. He only sells 4 items now? Why? He's almost not even worth going to. In 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'm already going to have everything in the game, so I don't even need to bother. And just really quick, it's a nitpick, but how did the speaker die exactly? Somebody pushed a button and he just flumps over dead. I mean, it's a 5-foot fall. You're telling me he got killed by a 5-foot fall? What is he, 80 years old or something?
I've fallen and I can't get up.
We're sending help immediately, Mrs. Fletcher.
Now I know I seem really heated, and I just spent the majority of this video harshly criticizing this game, but the truth is, I honestly really like Destiny 2. I like it a whole lot, just not as much as I liked Destiny 1. But you know, that's kind of what it's like in the Destiny community. We complain and we criticize the game as we spend countless hours playing it. It's just that I'm very passionate about this franchise, and I critique this in the hopes that, you know, Bungie might listen. Maybe they'll fix some problems and make some improvements. I complain in the hopes that the game I play nearly every day can be improved. I mean, it's still incredibly addictive and tons of fun to play. I still have trouble putting the controller down, despite already having done everything the game has to offer. But that doesn't change the fact that this game, it did take a lot of steps forward, but it took even more steps back. In an effort to make this game more accessible to more people, it wound up alienating the hardcore fans like myself. There are very few reasons to come back to it week after week. And while I do plan on playing this game a whole lot, I know I won't be playing it nearly as much as I played the first one. So congratulations, Kimberly. You got exactly what you wanted. And I've had some really serious talks about this game with a few of my close Destiny 1 friends, and they're all more or less in the same boat as me. Disappointed. And I keep flipping back and forth with this game. Some days, I absolutely love it. And other days, I look at the Traveler as a metaphor for my heart. If I had to give the game a score, I think I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. But I gotta be honest, I'm incredibly biased towards this franchise. I mean, normally I try to remain as objective as I possibly can, but with this game it's just not possible. And as many negative things I have to say about it, I've still put a lot of hours into it, and plan on putting a lot more into it, because it's a really fun and solid experience. It's just missing a lot of features and depth that the first one had. And Destiny 2 played things too safe. It was trying to cater to too many people, which is what tends to happen when a big publisher like Activision puts 3 studios on one game. Destiny 2 was a huge investment, and they had to make sure as many people would buy this thing as possible. But there are really good things about the game that I didn't even talk about, like various quality of life improvements. The fact that Grimoire is basically in the game now is pretty damn awesome. I wish there was a lot more of it, but the best part about getting some of these exotics is just getting to read about them. And the memories thing at the start of the game was pretty neat, and it actually genuinely brought back memories, as it showed people's gamer tags I had completed those events with. The Cold Heart, it's pretty cool. I like the Trace Rifle, I'd like to see more of that. And the level design in the main story campaign missions is actually pretty good. And I really appreciate having dedicated vehicle sections in the campaign. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that I really like about this game. But there's also a whole lot that needs fixing. Classic Destiny, huh? Now that 7 out of 10 can change in the future, because Destiny is a franchise that evolves, or devolves, with each new expansion. So whenever a new expansion for the game drops, you can expect a review of it from me, right here on this channel. Also, you should all join my clan. We accept everybody, and we would love to have you. And I'm not kidding. Request to join the clan, and I will let you right on in. I do everything this game has to offer. I plan on trying to take a few of my friends flawless, and maybe even a couple of you if you play your cards right. But come on in, and you could get a whole bunch of free stuff off of your favorite little boy in the whole wide world, Daddy Ren. Also, everybody, Bungie, the Destiny community, can we agree, please, to not have anything nerfed? Let's start buffing other things to make them as good as the good things that people are saying to nerf. Like, let's buff grenade launchers. And a couple other things while we're at it. Don't nerf the Mida. Don't nerf the Prosecutor. I know you want to, but just don't. Where will we be in 3 years if you keep nerfing? It won't be a good place. Alright, think about it. Anyway, that does it for me. Remember to leave a like, as it genuinely does help out a small channel like mine get some much needed recognition. And subscribe for more of the best damn videos on this website. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.